So 2 years ago, I said I was going to roll back my channel to a hobby state. Then 1 year ago, I had launched a Patreon. Then just a few months ago, I announced without warning that I was shutting down my Patreon and giving up on being a professional YouTuber for good. And now, suddenly, you're seeing Buy Me a Coffee links all over my channel. Are you confused yet? Well, I did originally plan on releasing an explanation video alongside my sudden announcement to quit, but I figured making a video on YouTube about how I was no longer going to be a YouTuber probably wasn't appropriate. But I've given it some thought since then, and I think there's a lesson in all this that I've learned about running a YouTube channel that might be worth sharing, simply because I'm certain there's somebody out there right now currently facing a situation similar to mine, and I think this video might just be what they need to help break past it. Well, that, and I want to update you, my audience, about the happenings of this channel, because, in truth, my channel has been going through something of an identity crisis for the better part of a year now, and I'm happy to say I think that identity crisis is finally resolved. So, let's start with the first update. Why have I quit trying to be a professional YouTuber? There's a slight backstory behind this, but I'll do my best to keep it brief. Basically, when I was starting this YouTube channel, I did so because I wanted to be a famous YouTuber who could make a living making videos. I know I said that I started this channel to share what I thought was cool, and there is still some truth to that statement, but the full truth is I wanted to turn what I thought was cool into a source of income. Now, my wanting to make a living on YouTube stemmed from a deep-seated desire to get out of my 9-to-5 grind. Mind you, it's not that I didn't want to work, I just didn't want to work for a boss. I wanted to call the shots, to work on what I saw fit, how I saw fit, and when I saw fit. And for reasons I did not yet understand at the time, being a self-employed entrepreneur was about as appealing to me as another job. No, if I was going to go my own way, YouTube was the way to do it. I was at least sure of that. Later on, when it became too difficult to balance a job with my channel, I took a year-long hiatus, but then later realized that I do actually enjoy working on projects, and to a lesser degree, I do enjoy making videos. But I found that chasing that YouTube grind was taking away from that enjoyment, and so decided to roll back the channel to more of a hobby state. Fast forward further, and I lose my job. With no other source of income and bills still coming in, I decided to see if I could use this as an opportunity to begin turning my channel into a career. I started a Patreon and got a few supporters, then lost a few, and then began to think how I might be able to attract new supporters, provide enough value regularly enough to keep the current ones, and do all of this while still keeping things enjoyable for myself. That last criteria was important to me because if I didn't enjoy doing this work, then it defeats the whole purpose of going down this road to begin with. Plus, it ensures that I can do this indefinitely without risk of burnout, which is something I had already experienced and didn't want to experience again. But that all first required me to identify what it was I enjoyed, and truth be told, up until this point, I had never given it much thought. All of this will sound familiar to those who joined my Patreon because I went into great detail about this problem there. But everything I did on this channel was something that I enjoyed doing at one point or another, but then later stopped enjoying. At first, I did Let's Plays, but then found myself fizzling out with that. Then I did map making, but then fizzled out with that too. Then I did computational redstone, which lasted much longer, but only because I was pushing myself to work on that long past the point of it being of any interest to me, purely because I thought it was the best bet at growing my channel. Now, I'm doing a mix of retrospective content and small projects, and that's definitely enjoyable to me right now, but more than likely, that will change too. You can see then how picking my channel's identity was both super important to get right and super difficult for me to do so. Whatever I picked was what I was going to have to stick with indefinitely, so I needed to make sure that I could stick with it, but what do I pick? During this time, I temporarily chose the identity of a tinkerer, just to act as a placeholder until I can figure out my identity. But it wasn't until just a few months before I closed my Patreon that I realized this was my identity. I am a tinkerer. Everything I do falls under the category of tinkering. And I had been suppressing this part of me because everyone in my life had always said it was a waste of time and I should do other, more productive things. But it wasn't until recently that I realized just how valuable the tinkerer's personality really is. Still, at the time I had trouble accepting this. Being a tinkerer is not something you could sell on this platform. No one was going to pay you to just tinker. Tinkering is too unpredictable. Some days I could create something of great value, most days I had nothing to show. And to me, if I was going to ask for a consistent income, I needed to provide something of consistent value. I'll skip most of the details here for brevity's sake, but the conclusion I eventually came to, the reason for both why I couldn't make a career as a YouTuber work, and why I didn't enjoy working for any boss or becoming an entrepreneur, is because I hated promises. As I said, when you're a tinkerer, the value you're able to create fluctuates wildly. If I make a promise that I'm going to deliver something of value in the next week, well, that puts an inordinate amount of stress on me, and really does a number on me psychologically when I'm unable to deliver. Promises come with obligations, and what I'm finding is a tinkerer is not the kind of person who can handle obligations. The reason why I was unhappy with my YouTube channel is because I felt I had made a promise to produce computational redstone content when I no longer wanted to do so. The reason why I was unhappy with my Patreon is because I felt I had made a promise to produce something of value on a regular basis when oftentimes I had nothing of value to offer. Both of these were obligations that were weighing heavily on my mind and, ironically, actually made it harder for me to do what I do naturally, produce value by tinkering. So the reason was clear, and so was the decision. I had to close my Patreon account. To my supporters, my deepest and most sincere thanks for being willing to support me through all this nonsense, and I hope that the content I did provide during this time was valuable enough to justify supporting me. But during this time, I had also considered abandoning my YouTube channel as well, but ultimately decided against it because, well, when I do have something worth sharing, I still love sharing it. In fact, after quitting Patreon, I went right back to my old tinkering ways, and you may have noticed shortly afterwards a few new videos being uploaded sharing the results of my tinkerings. These are things I am proud to share. Not because they're anything exceptional, but because they're the results of me doing what I do naturally. These short, less than 2-minute videos are the most genuine videos I had posted in a long time, second only to the Rail Tour video. So that ultimately was why I quit trying to become a professional YouTuber. But now the question is, why the sudden introduction of Buy Me a Coffee? Doesn't this kind of contradict everything I just said? I would actually say no. In fact, I think that Buy Me a Coffee is actually more harmonious with the way I work, and here's why. As stated, these reasons and realizations solved a lot of problems for me on the YouTube front, but I still wanted to get out of the 9-to-5 grind. Granted, I'm doing much better nowadays than I had been with my previous job. My current job is pretty simple, part-time, and with a pretty decent pay, meaning I come home at the end of the day with plenty of time and mental energy left to work on my projects, and I receive just enough to keep paying the bills. Even still, having a bit of extra cash at the end of the month would be nice, so what I had decided to do was to tinker my way into making video games, with the intention of selling it on Steam. Does this guarantee a source of income? No, but do you know what it does guarantee? My enjoyment. I had always wanted to learn how to make video games, and learning how to write better code is something I enjoy doing. As stated, my basic needs are covered by my current job, so if I end up making money selling my games, that's a win. If not, I still enjoy the process, which is also a win. Something I had realized about this, though, is this approach is the definitional opposite of a promise. I'm not selling the promise to make a game and then figuring out how to make it out of obligation. I'm making a game, and when it's done, I'm taking the opportunity to sell the finished product. Promise versus finished product. Obligation versus opportunity. As a tinkerer, the latter option for both of these dichotomies is what's more beneficial to me. I mean, think about it. What comes easier? Selling something you've already made, or selling something you haven't made and then figuring out how you're going to make it? Putting what I said before into more positive terms, it's not that I want to avoid obligations to fulfill promises, it's that I want opportunities to sell finished products. Well, what I then realized shortly after that was, if what I want was an opportunity to sell something of value, and I know my videos provide value, people say it in the comments how much they appreciate my videos, why not sell my videos? Well, initially I thought this was a stupid idea. After all, if I'm going to sell my videos, I need to advertise them, which means I need to build an audience, which means I need to make flashy videos, and now I'm playing the YouTube game again, which means more promises and more obligations. But what if instead I just gave people the opportunity to donate to me if they find the content I create to be of value? Doing it this way changes nothing about how I use my channel currently. I can still tinker. I can still share what it is I'm proud of having made. It's just now, if people find value in what I have to share, they have an opportunity to provide something to me in exchange. It's the same setup as selling my video games. If the video is something I enjoy making and I'm willing to share regardless, then it doesn't matter if I get paid or not. I got my enjoyment either way. Who cares if countless people see my video without paying? It doesn't cost me anything, and it's not like they were going to pay anyway. To me, this is the perfect system, providing a win-win for everyone and satisfying all of my criteria. Of course, if what I wanted was to get paid in proportion to the value I created in my videos, why not monetize? I am eligible after all. Unfortunately, advertisements as they currently are violate my no promises, no obligations requirement. It doesn't provide an opportunity like you would expect. That, and I take issue with advertisements on the grounds of my own moral principles. In fact, if you see ads in my videos, I'm going to ask that you install and enable an ad blocker when viewing my content. I'd highly recommend using the Brave browser if you don't already have a good ad blocker. I have my reasons for making this request, and I could go into them here, but honestly, that should probably be another video. For now, just know that I'm never going to monetize my channel so long as the YouTube ecosystem is the way it is now. So, yeah, that's what happened, and that's the reason behind all the various changes I made to my YouTube channel. Of course, for brevity's sake, I skipped over a number of details, smaller intermediary premises, and various models that provide different ways of looking at problems like these. Yes, I had another script put together that was about 2 times bigger than this one, but I still think those extra details are extremely useful, so more than likely I'll probably cover them in other videos. When or how that's going to happen is yet to be seen, though. For now, though, that's all I have to share. Hopefully this clarifies some of the strange decisions I had been making, and hopefully this doesn't come across as just a crude attempt to plug my Buy Me a Coffee link. As I've explained, everything I'm doing here is for the sake of rediscovering my own enjoyment of my projects, my YouTube channel, and everything related. Asking for donations for the sake of donations would only rob me of that enjoyment. But asking for donations in exchange for whatever value I may create for you by tinkering, well, that only enhances my enjoyment. And of course, as I said at the beginning of this video, I'm hoping that by sharing this information, I'll end up helping out someone who may be struggling with this issue as well. If you're the kind of person who has also been struggling to find joy in your work, ask yourself if just tinkering is what you would prefer. If the answer is yes, hopefully some of the insights and strategies I've spelled out here provides you with a valuable first step. And, to act in line with what I had been saying, if any part of this video provides you with something of value, consider buying me a coffee as a thank you. The link will be in the description. And until the next video, happy tinkering.